pretty much everything has leaked out about the Panasonic S1R Mark II. The date, the time, the specs, with the exception of the US price. Well, we just got the US price and a whole bunch of leaked specifications. Do they line up with what Andrea Pizzini's told us? And what about the S1H Mark II? Well, I'll answer these questions and more in this video. But first, I have a simple and yet humble request. Please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps this channel grow, and it keeps you informed of the latest camera gear, such as the Panasonic S1R Mark II. So the one thing that's really unknown at this point is the US price, and we can look at the European price that Andrea Pizzini put out and kind of derive a value there. And I thought probably, depending on tariffs, taxes, and all that sort of stuff, that we could see a price at the very, very low end of $29.99 and at the high end, $33.99. I'm happy to tell you that the manufacturer's suggested retail price of the Panasonic S1R Mark II is actually $3297.99. And if you're thinking that price is very similar to what we see with the Canon EOS R5, well, you'd be correct. The R5 sells for $33.99, and its closest competitor is the Nikon Z8 at $33.96. So that tells you right there that Panasonic sees the S1R Mark II as a combination of the S1 and the S1R, because if you look at the Nikon Z8 and the Canon EOS R5, what you see is a very, very strong, a very, very solid stills camera, but also a very, very solid and strong video camera. So I think what that means is, as far as the S1 Mark II, don't expect that camera. What we have with the S1R Mark II is basically a combination of those two cameras. Do they line up with what Andrea Pizzini's told us? And what about the S1H Mark II? Pricing the S1R Mark II right at the same price as the Canon EOS R5, and the Nikon Z8 is telling a very, very simple and strong message, that the S1R Mark II is just as capable as the Nikon Z8 and the Canon EOS R5. And what that means is any sort of hope that we might see an S1 Mark II, I would forget that. I think what Panasonic's doing here by placing this at the same level as the Nikon Z8 and the R5 is they're saying that we no longer need to make a separate camera for photographers and another one for videographers. That the S1R Mark II is basically the answer to both of those cameras. So what about the S1H Mark II? Well, if we take a look at the specifications, we can see that the S1R Mark II is capable of 8.1K, 8K, but with a sensor resolution of 44.3 megapixels, that means it's not going to be able to do 8K DCI or even 8.1K DCI. Why would Panasonic do that? Well, for a very simple reason, that they're planning on announcing, and who knows when, the S1H Mark II. Now, could it come in the following weeks or months? Perhaps. They might also wait till October. They could wait till May. We just don't know at this point. But if you look closely at the specifications for the S1R Mark II, while it's a very, very powerful camera and delivers capabilities such as open gate that we don't see in the Z8 and the R5, there's other capabilities that, well, it's leaving room for improvement. They might just be subtle. Might be things such as 420 versus 422, 8K DCI versus 8K UHD. But what about the date and the time? That date and time has kind of moved around a little bit, right? Well, we were also able to validate that as well. Over the past couple of weeks, we heard a couple of dates and times. Well, we can confirm that it's going to happen tomorrow, Tuesday morning, February the 25th. And the actual time? Well, we heard it was going to be anywhere between 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time to 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. And in terms of London time, between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. I'm able to confirm that the announcement of the Panasonic S1R Mark II is actually going to happen at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to be covering the announcement live. We're also going to talk about the latest Sigma announcement, and I just got another little tidbit here, another confirmation, and it's about a Zeiss Otis lens. You know, I'll save that till tomorrow. It's going to be coming out for Canon, Nikon, and Sony. Oh, you want to know more details now? Okay, here, let me share it with you. So Zeiss Otis, the 50mm and 85mm f1.4 will be announced tomorrow as well. I'm not going to tell you exactly what time, but we're starting our live stream at 7:30 in the morning, and we're going to go right past the announcement at 9 o'clock and maybe continue till 9:30. And you might be wondering, why do I have smart pre-order links at the bottom of the screen and in the description? Well, the reason is very simple. The Panasonic S1R Mark II has been a long wait for many people, waiting as much as 6.5 years. And while it's going to ship in March, the last thing you want to do is wait, watch all the reviews, and then decide if you want it. Now you're going to have to wait a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months. I keep citing the example of the Canon RF 200 to 800mm. People who actually pre-ordered on the same day had to wait 8 to 10 months. So what I suggest is copy down the smart pre-order links, put them in your browser, bookmark them, and once the embargo is lifted, go ahead and pre-order. Now, pay very careful attention to the shipping date, because you can always go ahead and cancel. It's not going to cost you anything, but at least it gets you into the queue. And as far as transparency goes, if you do use the affiliate links, the smart pre-order links, what happens is I get a small commission back, and quite literally what you're doing is you're helping support the channel, you're helping to keep the lights on, and it's very much appreciated because, to be honest with you, I don't like doing sponsorship ads, and I have no intention of doing those. You guys using my smart pre-order links really helps out. But there's something else the smart pre-order links also do. If we get multiple different, let's say, SKUs, we get the S1R Mark II body alone, the S1R Mark II with multiple different lenses, and sometimes what Adorama and B&H will do is they'll give you a choice of a whole bunch of lenses packaged together at a discount. And this is going to show you every single available option. But again, join me with my expert panel tomorrow morning, Tuesday, February the 25th at 7:30 in the morning for live coverage. We're also going to talk about Sigma, those two lenses, and that's pretty exciting. And what's interesting about those two Otis lenses is that we're getting something for the Canon RF mount. Will it be APS-C or full frame? Stay tuned. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great night, and we'll see you again soon.